Listen now to the book, One Night with the Hybrid King, written by the author Anya Curves. If you want to buy the ebook, link in the description. Subscribe to the channel. Like and share. Chapter 116 Aria. I never aspired to be a lycan. I always enjoyed being human, feeling the weight and vulnerability of my condition. I never envied the other species, not even the lycans, with their superhuman abilities, strength, and heightened senses. To me, it was never a blessing. I always saw it as a curse, a terrible burden that bound them to animalistic instincts and a life of constant struggle against their own nature. Turning into a beast? That never seemed like a privilege to me. Now, with the weight of this reality falling on me, I feel a mix of anger, frustration, and desperation. She can stay angry with me for the rest of her life if she wants, but she's here, and she's mine. I hear Caelum speak, but it's as if it's inside my mind. I'm not yours. I snap immediately, my voice laced with irritation and a hint of pain. When are you going to understand that? I thank you for saving me, but that doesn't make me yours, Caelum. He raises an eyebrow, confused. His surprise is evident, but what catches my attention the most is the sound of his heartbeat. It's faster, like he's tense or nervous. And his scent, that strong and distinct smell that I can't ignore now, becomes almost suffocating, a constant presence in the air. Aria, I didn't say anything, he whispers, his voice filled with uncertainty, as his gaze meets mine. Yes, you did. And very loudly. I retort, my heart racing, my patience growing thinner. No, I just thought. He begins, but suddenly stops. A heavy silence fills the space between us before he finishes, hesitant. I just thought. I thought it was a myth, but could it be true? Caelum wonders again, and once more, his voice reverberates directly in my head, intimate and intrusive. What's a myth? I ask, impatient. Caelum's eyes widen, surprised, and he crosses his arms in front of his body, as if trying to protect himself from something he doesn't fully understand yet. There's an unusual seriousness in his expression now, something that unsettles me even more. Thousands of years ago, at the beginning of our species, he starts, his voice low, as if sharing a forbidden secret. The lycans could communicate telepathically. The legends say it was a gift from the Creator, but only those transformed by the bite had that special connection. It was something rare and powerful, a direct link to the essence of our existence. He pauses, watching me carefully before continuing. As the years passed, humans started not surviving the bite. So we began procreating among ourselves, and that ability was lost. It became a myth, an ancient story. But you, he stares at me, his eyes full of a mix of fascination and concern. I feel a chill run down my spine. The discomfort grows inside me. The idea of being connected to Caelum's thoughts, or anyone else's, deeply unsettles me. Reading his thoughts is not something I want. It's already hard enough dealing with what he says out loud. Knowing what he thinks is a burden I never asked to carry. Besides, his heartbeat and his scent already give away more than I'd like to know. I don't want to read your thoughts, I say, my voice heavy with firmness and exhaustion. So stop thinking about me. Caelum opens his mouth to say something, but I interrupt him, my mind returning to what truly matters. Tell me where my children are. What happened to Thorn? My voice rises, my heart racing again, and I feel anger and fear intertwining in my chest. I don't want to deal with riddles or explanations of ancient legends anymore. I want answers. I want to know if my children are safe. I want to understand what's happening to me. Caelum's gaze changes. He hesitates, and something in his posture tells me he's trying to find the right words to respond. But my patience is running thin, and I feel that if he doesn't speak now, my own strength, this new, terrifying strength I can't control, will demand the answers I need. What happened to my son, Caelum? My voice comes out heavy with anger, almost a growl, as if each word is a spark of fire burning my throat. I feel my muscles tighten, like they're ready to explode into action. Caelum hesitates, his expression revealing an internal struggle he can't hide. His jaw tightens for a moment before he finally speaks, each word heavy with tension. He explains, in a forced calm, about the bond Drave created with the lives of the twins. His words become sharp blades in my mind. He also reveals the critical state of Alexander, each detail adding a new layer of weight to my shoulders. It's as if the ground beneath my feet is crumbling. My mind screams, my heart feels like it's beating too fast, almost painfully. The air around me grows denser, as if the atmosphere itself is conspiring to crush me. Anger surges, an overwhelming force that fills me completely, burning like magma about to erupt. That bitch of your mate needs to be stopped, Caelum. I scream, my voice cutting through the space like thunder. She almost killed my children and my fiancé. My eyes burn with frustration and fury as I glare at Caelum. He raises an eyebrow, his expression now confused, almost as if he's unsure of what he just heard. His breathing changes, becoming heavier, and I sense the tension in his muscles. "Aria, don't you remember?" he asks, and there's something else in his voice, a concern that makes me uncomfortable. My brow furrows, and I feel confusion grow inside me. "On the day of the attack, you came to my hotel. We slept together and—" He leaves the sentence unfinished, the words dying on his lips, but their intention echoes loudly enough for my mind to scream in disbelief. Before I can protest, clear images appear, but they don't come from my memory, they come from Caelum, from his mind. It's as if someone placed a mirror inside my mind, reflecting something I never lived, but that feels as if it's mine. I see, with unsettling clarity, us together on a sofa, bodies intertwined, consumed by something so visceral it makes me shudder. "Caelum," I murmur, my voice now carrying a mix of disbelief and irritation. "I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen you once since the beach." My eyes search his, trying to find some logical explanation for what he's saying. "I love Alexander," I declare firmly, as if saying it to both him and to myself. "And I want to marry him." The words leave my mouth like a blow, and I see the impact they have on Caelum. His heart races, a rhythmic, frantic sound that reverberates in my ears, louder than it should be. His breath catches in his lungs, as if he's holding the air to prevent something from escaping. He tries to disguise it, tries to maintain composure, but he can't hide it from me. Every beat of his heart, every micro-expression on his face, even the scent that emanates from him. Everything reveals his true emotion. Is this how I seem to him? So transparent? It's unbearable to be read like this, as if there's no place to hide. "I better go see Thorn and Alexander," I murmur, my voice lower now, almost resigned. I feel the weight of this conversation crushing me, and I need an escape before I lose control. "We'll talk later, all right?" I see the struggle within him, the effort to maintain the appearance of coldness, but his body betrays him. His hormones, his scent, even the rigidity of his posture betray the internal chaos he's trying to suppress. "Yes, yes," he responds, his voice laden with artificial coldness. "I need to continue the search for Seraphina and force the annulment of our marriage. We'll talk later." The coldness in his words contrasts with the turmoil I feel coming from him. My eyes linger on him for a few more seconds, capturing every detail, before I finally turn, ready to leave the room. The weight of reality is almost unbearable, but the need to protect my children and be by Alexander's side drives me forward. Chapter 117. Aria. "What do you want to do?" Caelum nearly growls, his voice echoing through the room. His rigid posture and clenched fists clearly show that my proposal has unsettled him. "I want to meet with your brother." I repeat my intent more calmly, trying to control the storm brewing inside me. The space around us is impeccably organized, but it carries a coldness that irritates me. It's a large room, adorned with paintings depicting landscapes of Veridiana and symbols of power. The massive wooden desk is cluttered with documents, and the sound of the computer working in the background echoes in my ears. A buzzing annoyance I can't ignore. Back when I was human, sounds like that would have gone unnoticed, but now, with my heightened senses, everything seems amplified, almost unbearable. "Drave is dangerous, Aria. I don't think it's wise for you to see him," Caelum responds, his voice filled with caution. I let out an exasperated sigh, trying to contain the irritation simmering beneath the surface. Being a lycan for almost 2 weeks has been a trial in every sense. My temperament, once controlled, now seems on the verge of exploding at any moment. It's like a constant storm is raging inside me, threatening to break free with every provocation. But the worst part is the anguish. The image of Alexander and Thorn, still in critical condition, their lives hanging by a thread, consumes my thoughts. Each day without improvement is another knife plunged deeper. "Alexander is dying, Caelum." My voice comes out harder than I would like, but the urgency consumes me. "Seraphina is still at large. Thorn can't wait, even if his vital signs are improving. The only person who can give us any direction is your brother, who's locked up. The most prudent thing now is to see him and get any information. Anything." My eyes search his, looking for something, anything, that tells me he understands my position. His green eyes shine like a forest in the sunlight, but there's something else in them now, something he's trying to hide. "Aria," my name echoes in his mind, without him saying a word aloud. The weight of his tone hits me like a wave, full of sorrow and emotions I don't want to feel. This mental connection I've developed with Caelum, this window into his thoughts, is a curse that haunts me every second. I close my eyes for a moment, trying to block out the sound of his voice in my mind. I try to focus on the present, on the sound of my own breath, on the subtle scent of wood in the office mingling with the woody perfume that emanates from Caelum. But nothing helps. His thoughts keep invading me, constant and overwhelming. I've been avoiding any direct contact with him because of this. It's an invasion I didn't ask for, something I don't want. His thoughts are confusing, filled with feelings I can't return, no matter how much he tries to mask them. The love he feels for me hangs in the air between us. But for me, it's just an added weight, a responsibility I can't carry right now. I'll go alone if necessary, Caelum. However, your company would be better. Thorn is your son, after all, I inform him more calmly. The mention of Thorn seems to strike something within him. I see his expression change, the lines of concern on his face deepening. He takes a deep breath, his shoulders sinking slightly, as if he's surrendering to my determination. I'll grab the car, and we'll go then, Caelum declares in a soft voice. The prison where Drave is confined is a place that reeks of menace and isolation. Embedded within an enchanted mountain at the heart of a dense forest, it feels like something straight out of a nightmare. The presence of lycans patrolling the perimeter is almost palpable, their eyes glowing in the dim light, while enchantresses strengthen the magical defenses around the place. Even with all of this around me, I try to remind myself that I'm now a lycan. My body is stronger, my senses sharper, my endurance greater. The fear that might have once dominated me feels like a distant echo, something that no longer holds as much power over me. Still, there's an unease in being here, as if the place itself rejects my presence. As we approach the entrance, my thoughts drift, trying to anchor themselves in something that makes sense. When will I transform? I ask, my voice coming out quieter than I intended. It's a question that hasn't left my mind since this new reality was forced upon me. On the next full moon, Caelum responds practically, his voice carrying a calm that doesn't match the hostile environment around us. Your first transformation always happens on the full moon. After that, you can transform whenever you want. At least that's how it is for us, the born lycans. I'm not sure how it works for those who were turned. His explanation isn't exactly comforting. I let out a heavy sigh, the sound echoing through the stone tunnel that leads us deeper into the prison. The structure is dark, made of rough stone, and lit by a cold bluish light. The air here is damp, carrying a faint smell of iron and something that resembles ozone, likely a residue from the spells protecting the place. The next full moon is in a week, right? I ask, trying to recall the calendar, my voice wavering slightly. Caelum confirms with a brief nod, but remains silent. He's been quiet since we left, but that doesn't mean his mind is at peace. On the contrary, his thoughts are loud, clear to me, even when he tries to hide them. I remember when I transformed for the first time, the pain was unbearable. I don't know if Aria will. The sentence hangs unfinished in his mind, but it's enough to make my chest tighten. He stares at me for a moment, and I see in his eyes a concern that he desperately tries to mask with a firm demeanor. I can help you with your first transformation if you want, Caelum offers gently. I'll need all the help I can get, I imagine. My response is sincere, but there's a hint of anxiety in it. The idea of transforming scares me, even though I don't want to admit it. We walk through the prison corridor, leaving the topic of my transformation behind. The cell doors are made of cast iron, thick and old. I hear the sound of prisoners' breaths, accompanied by a sea of strong, uncomfortable smells. Drave's cell is at the end of the corridor, a cold, damp, and dark place. A soldier opens the cell door, and I note how it looks on the inside. The size of the cell is larger than the one I once occupied. But the sense of powerlessness, of decay, will always exist within this prison. Drave sniffs the air, and his green eyes, just like Caelum's, light up when I approach. He's chained at the far end of the cell, sitting on the bed. Wow, you've become one of us, your blood really is powerful, Aria, Drave comments surprised. He claps his hands, but there's a mocking tone in the gesture. I don't have time for games or poisonous words that Drave might throw at me. My blood boils with his arrogant attitude. Why did you bind your life to my children? I ask, irritated. Drave blinks at me in surprise, his expression overly theatrical. His eyes shift from me to Caelum, who's standing beside me. You didn't tell her? Drave remarks with humor in his voice. Yes, Caelum told me. If he kills you, our children die, I retort, frustrated. Drave frowns at me, as if the answer I gave is trivial. Okay, sure. But I could have done the same with his life. A life-binding spell is easy to cast. But with my nephews? The magic they exude, I couldn't let that slip away. Especially with my sister-in-law eyeing them. I actually did you all a favor, Drave responds, leaning back and resting against the wall. I advance towards Drave quickly, anger fueling my movements. I grab him by the collar of his clothes and lift him with ease. His face is surprised by my actions. You're going to tell me everything I need to know about breaking this spell, or I'll knock all your teeth out with a punch. Got it? I threaten. Drave looks past me toward Caelum. You've got a taste for explosive women, huh, bro? Drave mocks. I slam him into the wall, sending him crashing back onto the bed. All right, fiery one. Twins are rare for supernatural beings, Drave begins to explain. Especially for hybrids like Caelum. My children are human. That's not uncommon for us, I snap back. Drave laughs mockingly and shakes his head. You really think that if those two pests were just human, I'd bind my life to theirs? Drave scoffs. Caelum is a terrible hybrid. He doesn't look into legends, myths, and the powers of enchantresses he has. The twins have a supernatural essence, which makes them rare, powerful, and dangerous. So, they could also undo this bond you created in them? Caelum asks from behind me. Drave shrugs, his expression darkening further. They could try, but 2 5-year-olds dealing with magic this powerful? I'll be here waiting for the catastrophe that could unfold, Drave declares with an acidic sense of humor. We leave the prison thoughtful. Drave's revelations about the twins leave me confused and uneasy. Take me to the hospital. I want to see them both today, I request from Caelum as he drives silently back to the capital. Aria, we'll find a way to break the spell on Thorn, Caelum declares firmly. We need to. I can't lose both of them, Caelum. I can't, I assert, with a lump in my throat. Chapter 118, Aria. Here it is, my daughter. My mother Lyra's voice is soft, but tired as she enters the room, carrying a cup of hot coffee. The comforting aroma fills the air, a stark contrast to the sterile and heavy scent of the hospital room. She hands me the cup with a faint smile, settling beside me on the stiff, uncomfortable sofa in Alexander's room. Do you want me to pick up Aloan from school today? Yes, please. Bring her here. I don't want her alone at home. My response is heavy with exhaustion. My body feels heavier with every minute I spend in this hospital, watching Alexander and Thorn locked in a silent battle for survival. My mother strokes my back, and I'm grateful for her support. They'll be okay, sweetheart, they will, she declares, though her optimism is fragile. The doctor said Thorn should have woken up by now, Mom. My voice quivers as I try to suppress the tears threatening to spill. That his vital signs are fine, but he just won't wake up. The words flow out like a lament, each syllable tightening the grip on my heart. I take a deep breath, trying to stay composed, but I fail. And Alex? I don't even know how. I let the sentence die on my lips. My gaze falls on Alexander. He lies on the bed, motionless as a statue. His once vibrant skin is now a pale, almost translucent shade, as if the blood has abandoned his body. Dark veins spread across his skin like a poisonous web, standing out cruelly against his pallor. Even on his face, they're visible, creating a map of decay. It's a glaring reminder that he's slipping further out of my reach. The smell in the room is unbearable to my heightened senses. It's no longer the scent I associated with the man I love. That unique blend of mint and something woody that always reminded me of an apple tree in bloom. A scent that had always been comfort, home, and love to me. Now all I can sense is the heavy odor of rot, as if death itself had already carved out a space beside him. My stomach churns, but it's not just because of the smell, it's the pain of losing something so essential, so intrinsically Alexander. My mother remains silent for a moment, her expression betraying that she too is struggling to grasp at a thread of hope for Alexander. Finally, she rises, giving my shoulders a gentle pat before leaving the room. I let her go, unable to muster a farewell. I start twisting the engagement ring on my finger, wishing for him to wake up and come back to me. Leaning in closer, I let my face hover mere inches from his. Alexander is so still, he looks more like a portrait than a living person. I would never betray you on purpose, Alexander, I whisper softly near his ear. I love you. I don't want to lose you. I take Alexander's hand gently, but the weight and coldness of his skin hit me like a grenade. His fingers, once warm and strong, now feel lifeless, as though all vitality has drained from them. I intertwine our fingers, feeling the rough texture of his skin against mine, and squeeze his hand lovingly, desperately trying to form a connection, a bridge to bring him back to me. My eyes well up with tears, and the lump in my throat threatens to erupt into sobs, but I hold it together for now. If you can hear me, Alex, I say softly, my voice cracking. Know that I was so happy by your side. You taught me how to be happy. It's because of you that I love my children. You always showed me the most beautiful things in the world, and when I had the twins, I wanted to make them feel the same way you made me feel, happy. My eyes scan his face, searching for any reaction, any movement, but he remains still. Silent tears trail down my cheeks, wetting our joined hands. If you want to go, I won't blame you, I whisper, each word crushing me as I speak. My heart shatters into 1,000 pieces. And if you want to wake up and stay but never see me again, I'll accept that too. My chest aches as though it's being crushed by an unbearable weight, but I know I have to set him free, even if it means losing the one person who's always been my safe haven. I stand and press a kiss to Alexander's cheek. My heart clenches, already aching with the longing for him. The emptiness in the room mirrors the growing void inside me. I run my fingers through his hair, just to prolong my goodbye. I move to Thorn's room and spend the entire afternoon there, talking and praying for him to wake up. Doctors come and go, but there's no news. Unlike Alexander, Thorn looks healthy, vibrant. His vital signs are steady and strong, he just won't wake up. Late in the afternoon, my mother arrives with Aloan. Lyra leaves soon after, apparently having something more important to do. Aloan tells me about her day at school, the drawings she made, and the activities she played. I cuddle her in my lap, sitting by her brother's bed. Aloan talks about a game that Thorn would have loved. I fight the urge to cry in front of my daughter. I have to stay strong and resilient for her. Mommy, Thorn is just tired, but he'll wake up soon, Aloan says sweetly. You don't have to be sad anymore, Mommy. I manage a small smile for her, my heart softening at my daughter's innocence. I adjust her snugly in my lap, and notice her placing her hand on her brother's. For a fleeting, delicate moment, I notice a faint glow emanating from Aloan's hand, and her green eyes shimmer. It happens so quickly I can barely process it. Then the scent of magic reaches my nose, a soft vanilla fragrance that, like the light and the gleam in her eyes, vanishes as quickly as it appeared. Moments later, Thorn begins to stir in his bed. His eyes flutter shut before slowly opening. My heart pounds in my chest, a wave of joy and relief washing over me. As soon as Thorn fully wakes and calls for me, I embrace him tightly, pouring all my love and relief into the hug, grateful beyond measure to see him awake.
Chapter 119, Caelum. I stand a few meters away from Alexander's room, when I catch Aria's scent lingering inside. I hear her farewell declaration to Alexander, and it fills me with anguish. I don't go closer because I don't want Aria reading my thoughts. I've been avoiding thinking about Alexander and the solution my mother suggested, to give up a part of my soul to save him. Keeping this secret from Aria has been a challenge. If I perform this spell, what will it mean for me and for her? I can't lose her to Alexander, especially when I'm certain of the powerful bond we share. The bite was a gift to Aria. She's bound to me now, forever. And yet, I can see she doesn't feel the same for me. She loves Alexander, and bringing him back would mean losing her to him, and I can't bear that. I decide to return to the castle. There's so much to deal with after the chaos caused by Drave and Seraphina that it feels like it's all snowballing out of control. On the way to the palace, my thoughts are a jumble of worries about the twins, Seraphina's escape, and Alexander's life slipping away. As soon as I arrive, a meeting with the royal advisors is called. The tension in the room is palpable. Everyone is still shaken by the invasion weeks ago. The capital remains in chaos, and there's much to rebuild. Tell me you found something about my mate, Seraphina, I demand impatiently. I sink into the armchair and glare at each advisor seated around me. Yes, Your Majesty. She's been located in the kingdom of Syltirion, at her parents' estate, Finn replies. That's excellent. We can start planning a negotiation, or an invasion, for her betrayal alongside my brother. I respond with determination. The advisors exchange uneasy glances, and an oppressive silence falls over the room, stoking my frustration. What is it now? She took part in the invasion of the capital, kidnapped my children for him, and used forbidden magic. I declare, my voice rising with anger. Your Majesty, unfortunately, because of your marriage to her, we cannot invade the kingdom of Syltirion. It would be dishonorable. I slam my fist on the table, the force shaking everyone in their chairs. She participated in the invasion of the capital, in a coup d'etat. I don't give a damn about any honorable nonsense. I roar, my voice shifting into a beastly growl that reverberates through the windows. I feel my lycan side clawing to the surface. My claws extend, raking deeply into the wooden table, while my eyes gleam and my blood boils with my enchantress powers. We are going to Syltirion, I announce coldly. We will seize Seraphina, and we will execute her for her betrayal against me and the kingdom of Veridiana. If Syltirion refuses to comply with our demands, I will reduce that land to ash and blood. Fear spreads through the meeting room, and I can hear the hearts of every advisor pounding faster at my declaration. Yes, Your Majesty, Finn finally replies, breaking the tense silence that had settled over the room. Come in, I command from inside my office. The door opens, and Aria appears on the other side. Her face is lit up with happiness, and she flashes an enthusiastic smile that catches me off guard. Thorn, he's finally awake, Aria announces joyfully. Without thinking, I move toward her and pull her into a tight embrace, lifting her off the ground and spinning her around in delight. Aria hugs me back, matching my excitement. When I finally set her down, my hands remain on her waist, and our faces are close. I lean in to kiss her, but she pulls away, stepping out of my grasp. Don't do that, please, she says softly but firmly. Her eyes meet mine, and I try to suppress my thoughts. The memory of us lying together on the couch is vivid in my mind, and I realize Aria has caught it. Her eyes shift away from mine, and she moves to the opposite side of the office. I don't know how the original lycans managed to control their thoughts around others. Thankfully, that ability faded over time. The doctor said he might be able to come home as soon as tomorrow, Aria says with excitement. That's wonderful. It's good to finally hear some positive news, I reply warmly. Speaking of news, we need to talk, Aria. About my mate, Seraphina. It feels strange to still use that title after everything that's happened. My physical separation from Seraphina took place months ago, and yet in other aspects, more important ones, we're still bound by marriage. We're going to invade Syltirion to bring Seraphina back, I inform her seriously. I see Aria's expression shift from kind to cold and irritated. Why would you want to bring back the woman who tried to kill our children? She asks, disbelief lacing her voice. Because she betrayed me, took part in the coup alongside my brother. She needs to pay for that, I reply. And for my divorce. We're still married, and that prevents the twins from being declared my heirs. Aria huffs, rolling her eyes at my explanation. You still want that for them? The crown? Look at everything they've been through without even being named heirs. Caelum, she snaps, frustrated. Yes, Aria. It's my duty as king to ensure I have heirs to the throne. I need to legitimize them as soon as possible. That's all you care about, isn't it? I come here to tell you Thorn is alive and well, and not even 5 minutes later, you're already scheming to make him your heir. The future king of Veridiana, she accuses. I care about them, but I am the king, Aria. It's not just the twins under my responsibility, it's an entire kingdom. What would you have me do? Leave them with you? Commoners? I retort, my voice rising. Aria's eyes blaze with anger, and I sense her hormones spike. Since I bit her, Aria's temper flares more easily, her animalistic side taking over more often. This is why lycans can't be created through bites. They're too unstable. Yes, that's exactly what you should do, Caelum. Aria shouts back. I never wanted them to be part of the royal family, and I still don't. Everything that's happened is because of you and your obsession with control. My fault? Have you gone insane? I counter, incredulous. Yes, I have. I was insane to think you, after everything, would give up this obsession with making them royalty. I literally ran from you, so they wouldn't get dragged into this. And yet, here we are, right in the middle of it all. How would that even work, Aria? You were willing to let Alexander be their stepfather, and he's a duke. What's the level of your hypocrisy? Aria storms toward me, fists clenched in fury. Alexander tried to renounce his title. You're the one who wouldn't allow it. Out of jealousy or fear, I don't know. There's no hypocrisy, Caelum. What you see me choosing is love, she declares, her voice breaking. I chose him, and he chose me. You only know how to choose the crown, your lineage. The only person who ever put me first is dying, and there's nothing I can do about it. Aria begins to cry, and her words tighten like a vice around my heart. The instability of her emotions caused by the transformation fills me with both empathy and sorrow. I approach her and wrap her in my arms. He's dying, and the last thing we talked about was a lie. He's going to leave me without knowing I truly loved him. Aria sobs. I want to tell her that I understand, that when I saw her dying, I did everything I could to bring her back. Perhaps Aria is right. Loving someone means choosing them, putting them first. Alexander will survive, I promise, I whisper to Aria. I decide, finally, to transfer part of my soul to him. If Alexander is what makes Aria happy, she deserves to have him.
Chapter 120. Aria. Thorn is as strong as a bull. It's like he was never here all this time. You need to see him. My voice is animated, more than I'd like, considering the situation. I try to maintain my enthusiasm, keeping hope alive in my chest. The nagging uncertainty dissipates slightly as I speak about Thorn. The sound of the hospital monitor mixes with my voice, while Alexander remains unconscious. However, his face has gained more life, more color. The dark veins are fading, and the pallor is giving way to his natural skin tone. Alexander's heartbeat, which I could once hear weakening so clearly, is now stronger. His scent has changed too, returning to that familiar mix of mint and applewood, a comforting smell. I hold his hand, trying to maintain physical contact, as if it forms a bond between us, as if my presence could work some kind of miracle. I gently stroke his skin, now warmer, more alive, clinging to every sign of improvement. My hope, which had begun to wither, blooms again with every breath he takes, every small movement his body makes. I'm afraid of the next full moon, I confess softly. A growing restlessness stirs within me, a sense of change, of raw power building up, waiting to be unleashed. Alexander, everything has changed and I'm terrified. I feel all this strength, this rage coursing through my body, and most of the time, I can't control it. I'm not who I used to be, and that scares me. Suddenly, I feel a twitch in my fingers, a squeeze of my hand. My heart leaps in my chest as I realize Alexander is waking up. His eyes flutter as he stirs. Aria, he says my name, his voice hoarse and weak. I can't contain the smile spreading across my lips, a mixture of joy, relief, and overwhelming gratitude. Hi, my love, I'm here. I respond immediately, my voice thick with emotion, blending with the pure happiness of seeing him awake. My hand touches his face gently, as if he were made of glass, too fragile to endure any force. His eyes open, and our gazes meet for the first time in what feels like an eternity. The doctor enters and examines Alexander. I stay in the room, watching the entire procedure, my eyes meeting Alexander's several times. I wish I could read his mind, to know what he's thinking. As soon as the doctor leaves, I return to sit beside him and take his hand in mine. There's so much I need to tell you, Alex, so much, I say, my voice laced with nervous anticipation. I spend the following hours telling him everything that's happened, trying to fill in the gaps of the time he's lost. I talk about Seraphina, the constant threat she poses, about Drave and his rebellion, about the twins and everything they've been through. Each word feels like a weight lifted, and yet, at the same time, it's a reminder of the complexity of the situation we're in. I know he needs to know everything, but I'm also unsure how to explain it all without overwhelming him. Finally, I reach the part about Caelum's bite. I feel a knot of discomfort in my chest as I mention it, but it's something Alexander needs to know. I show him the mark on my arm, now healed but still visible. It hasn't completely faded, and this constant reminder of what happened with Caelum now hangs between us. It's a mark I wish I didn't have, but one I can't erase. You and him are together, then? Alexander asks, his voice filled with coldness and pain. Of course not. The words burst out of me, almost like a shout, a desperate attempt to smother any doubt he might have. I step closer to him, my hands trembling as I gesture, trying to convey the truth burning in my chest. Alexander, I don't know what you saw, but it wasn't me. I would never betray you like that. This, I show him my hand, the engagement ring gleaming under the soft light of the room. I want to marry you, no one else. My words are full of sincerity, yet I can feel the ghost of insecurity lingering in the air. Alexander stares at me, his jaw tight, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths, as though he's wrestling with his own thoughts. I know he wants to believe me, but the shadows of doubt are relentless. He opens his mouth to speak, and from the tension on his face, I can tell he's ready to argue, until Caelum appears in the doorway. His entrance is abrupt, his presence commanding. The room seems to shrink around him, as if the very air acknowledges him as an inevitable force. "She's telling the truth, Alexander." "And so are you," Caelum says firmly, his deep voice reverberating through the room, forcing me to look at him with a mix of anger and exasperation. My glare could pierce through him, but he remains unshaken, continuing, "I was with Aria that day. We spent the entire day together. It was likely Seraphina conspiring with my brother to keep me away from the capital. You saw Aria and me, but it wasn't her," Caelum explains. "Seraphina must have used forbidden magic. She's done it before. She could have done it again." The silence that follows is deafening. Alexander and Caelum lock eyes like opponents on a battlefield, cautious and cold. There's something primal in their gazes, as if each man is sizing up the other, searching for weaknesses. The tension in the room is almost tangible, pressing against my skin like an invisible weight. And then I hear it, not words spoken aloud, but Caelum's thoughts, clear as day, echoing in my mind. "Let Alexander reject her, please reject her, so she'll be mine." My blood boils at the audacity of his secret will, and I force myself to remain calm, even though my rage is a storm within me. "Alex, I feel nothing for Caelum, not anymore." The words spill from my lips urgently, each syllable heavy with sincerity. "It's you I want to be with." My gaze searches his, pleading with him to see the truth, to believe me. Alexander looks at me, his expression softening. He takes my hand in his and lifts it to his lips. His kiss is delicate, gentle. "I can't deny the chemistry and the history between you and him, Aria," he says, his voice low but full of raw honesty. "Caelum is the father of the twins, and now the bond between a maker and their turned will always exist between you two. I just need to get used to the idea of having to share you in this way. I want to argue that there's no bond with Caelum, that he doesn't need to worry about sharing me because I am entirely his." But the words die on my lips, choked by the truth Alexander so clearly laid bare. Caelum and I will always be connected, whether through the twins or through the bond that now exists between us, something that can never truly be erased. I nod, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. Things aren't perfect, but he's here, and he's willing to try. That's all that matters now. What's important is that we'll be together. We'll get married and nothing will take you away from me, Alex, I declare with conviction, my voice steady but thick with emotion. A timid smile spreads across Alexander's face, and that simple gesture fills my heart with joy. It's as if light has finally broken through the darkness surrounding us. Without thinking, I lean closer to him, and our lips meet. The kiss is full of passion, longing, and unspoken promises. It's a moment that feels like an eternity, and yet isn't nearly long enough. If you like it, subscribe, share, comment, and like. If you want to read the book, link in the description.